So today we're going to make the ice level for this game that I'm making called Synth Beast, and basically it's like Zelda, but instead of using items, you use different Pokemon-like creatures, and they have different abilities, like this one can jump, or this one has like a dash, this one has a fire thing, and so what we're going to do is do this section over here that I haven't done yet. So this is the whole part of the level that I've done so far, and then over here you can see some like weird little things that don't really look like a level, but you can see there's something going on, and that's basically part of the white box that I've done already, but it's not actually decorated. So we're going to decorate maybe like this part over here and this part as well. So we're going to go through the process and I'll show you exactly how it's done for the game. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to move the character to a place that's a bit closer to where we're decorating, and then I'm going to move on to selecting the white box and activating it. And you can see that there's like a little blocking thing here that's meant to block you from the jellyfish enemy, and we're going to want to change that for something that makes more sense, right? It's not just going to be a block. And then here there's going to be a little switch that we're going to want to put like some sort of blocking thing, maybe a body of water. Yeah, let's start with that. So I guess the first thing we should do is decide whether we're going to put like a body of water here, since that's going to change like all of this little section. I see that I have a bit of white space here that maybe we can deal with, so I'm just going to go and take the water that I already have here. I'm actually just going to scale it, so you can see the water is just a plane. I remember I did a TikTok a while ago where I explained how water works in games, and people were surprised that it was actually just a plane and not simulated. Yeah, that's how water works in games, and so I'm just going to scale it a bit more. And if I go here to the terrain, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to set the height. And I actually haven't worked on this level for a while, so I can't remember what the bottom of the bank of the river is supposed to be in terms of the height. So I'm just going to go and shift click on this body of water, and we can see that it's about -5. So I can go and do the same thing here, and I'm going to make my brush size a bit bigger. So not that big, but big enough to where I can just, you know, basically spawn the water. So that works pretty nicely. Do I really need it to be so all-encompassing for the lake of water, for the body of water? I don't really think so. So I think I'm just going to make this a little small lake and leave it at that. And if I want to do anything more, I can do that later for the area that comes after this. So I think that works fine for now. And obviously the lever can't just float around, so I'm just going to try to position it a bit more centered, and maybe I should put like a, I wonder what I could put here, maybe like some rock. So I have a rock here that I can just Control D, duplicate, and put it like here. It makes a bit more sense naturalistically, so yeah, that should work well. Then I can deactivate this part of the white box, and that seems like it should work. And then obviously I should make sure that this has no collider. Otherwise, your fireball might collide with this instead of the lever. So let's test out and see how that works for now. So we're here, and I'm just going to switch on to my fire character, and you know, that looks pretty nice, right? So you can click here, and that works. So that worked pretty well. And so now that we know that we're going to do a body of water here, we can kind of be informed in what kind of stuff we put here to break the line of sight. You don't want to have the level be able to be visible too much at once for performance reasons, and also because it might look a bit ugly. So I'm just going to take this cliff over here, and how am I going to do this? Because if I put it too close to here, then it breaks the view of the level when you're over here, right? So I can't really do that. So I actually might just, so if I just duplicate these bushes like this, that should work, right? Maybe make them a bit smaller. They're 3 by 3 by 3, so maybe 2 by 2 by 2. That should work. It looks like it does. And so let's just continue copy and pasting them like this. And so if you use Unity like I do, I just do Control D and it just creates a copy and automatically selects it for you, and that works really nicely for me. So what I've noticed is actually we might not really need these walls, so actually we might have them for here, but over here there's a natural obstruction with the lake. So you can see here in the beginning of the level I just have like this kind of bank area, and so I might just do that as well for that section. And now actually thinking about it, I don't think I want to do these bushes. I think what I'll end up doing is kind of take a cue of what I did about around here, I believe. Yeah, so there's a bit of rock formations that aren't too blocking the view. So I'm just going to move them over here, and we'll see how that looks. So I'm just going to try to scale them up a bit and kind of make like a rocky bank kind of thing, while still keeping this kind of general white box obstruction, because you can see that even though if I did put the bushes, I need to block this part over here so people can't just go around the door. And so I would have to need to put these fences that I'm not sure I want to actually have there. So I'm just going to go like this, kind of try to follow it just like really loosely with the stuff that I have right now, and then I'll go over and replace the rocks to make them a bit more varied after I'm done with the general shape. So I'm just going to go like that, and it looks like this should work So now I'm just going to deactivate these white box areas, see how it kind of looks, and it looks like it generally does. I think I'll have to just put some rocks over here as well though. And so it looks like I'm not going to use these fences at all, so I'm just going to start deleting them. And yeah, I think I might want to use this as well, but I can't use this one because if you remember, I removed the collider, so I'm just going to reduplicate it from over here. So as you can see, I'm duplicating it a lot, and a lot of people often what they do instead of duplicating is maybe just like placing stuff, right? So you can see I can place this, or I can place this little electricity post here. That's actually the ice variant for this level, so it will work perfectly. But for now, I just like to duplicate for getting the general shape of things, and I already have everything just set up, so it's just much faster than just going through the file system and trying to figure out where everything is. So I'm just gonna, again, try to line up this as much as I can. I'm just gonna deactivate it as well because I know that I don't really need to know exactly how the white box looks like because it's just pretty straight. So I'm just gonna go like that, duplicate, 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 and it looks like it could work, right? This looks like a kind of like a lakey rock formation, so if I were just to adjust it a bit, it should work pretty well. And so the next thing we're going to do is actually exactly what I talked about before, which was this little block here. We want to make it something a bit more interesting. And so I'm just going to get some ideas, scan around and see if there's anything that could work that I've previously used. So I use these log kind of things that could potentially work because there's kind of like a construction kind of thing going on the level. Maybe just like a car with a log in it, right? So that could work as well. Another option is these ice crystals that are actually destructible. And so that could actually just add like another layer of intractability that you can actually destroy this if you're not careful. So I'm just going to change the global, again, I don't know what this is called, but I'm going to change this to the global rotation mode, I guess, and duplicate it and move it over here and see how that looks. So I'm just going to go like that, kind of make it a bit more varied than just like copying without changing the scale, because this one I can just do it right now without too much effort. And let's see how that works. So if I just deactivate this, that works pretty well. So I'm just gonna do this though for a bit more variation. Yeah, that should work. Maybe this one as well. So that looks like kind of a ice crack, and then I'm gonna move the barrel a bit out of the way so you can actually not see it clipping. So let's see how that looks. So yeah, that looks pretty good, right? So let's see if it actually does block it properly. It looks like it really does, and it obstructs the enemy quite well, but not too much. So I'm pretty happy with that actually. So you can actually move around, deal with the enemy, and this kind of rock formation that we did not too long ago works well as well. So I just think a bit more variation is all that it needs in this section, and we should be set. And so just to add a bit more variation, what I can do is just maybe try to like rotate 180 this way and make the spiky bit point up. So I think that works, but it has to be a bit lower because otherwise it's going to obstruct too much. I think that could work for this one. Yeah, probably. And then I can just rotate this one a bit as well. Maybe even duplicate it again and add like a smaller little offshoot kind of thing for more texture. And I can probably do the same thing here, but for the 180 version, so it does basically the same thing again, but with even more variety. And that already looks quite a bit better. And just to deal with this a bit more, I can just change the scale to make it look a bit more different, like it's not just like a copy paste of the same asset, even though it basically is. And so yeah, that's looking pretty good. And then we can do the same thing for these bigger ones over here. And so I wonder if maybe even I might want to just replace one of these with one of these. So I'm going to try and see how that looks. And so yeah, I don't even really need that much space in here because that bigger one was not occupying too much. So this like that works pretty well, it seems. Yeah, so I can do that. And then this one over here, I can move it. Maybe I can do the 180 thing as well. Let's see how that looks. So if I just change the scale, it looks a bit too plain actually, so I'm not too sure about how I feel about that, but maybe if I delete this one, it would work. Yeah, I don't really like that too much, so I'm gonna go back on my word and just try to mingle a bit more with the scale, maybe layer some stuff on top of each other, and that should help a lot. So let's see how that goes. So you can see now it looks a bit more like there's just like a bunch of like rocky, slidey plate slipping, and not so much as just like duplicated rocks in the same place all the time. So that helps a lot to just add a bunch of variety. So even if you only have a few assets, I think modifying them like this and kind of working with what you've got can really help a lot in making your game feel more unique. So that's how that looks. I think this part's the one that I'm not too happy with, so I might change that a bit. Maybe make it a bit smaller, a bit more pointy to make it kind of more like a surface feature and duplicate it again just the other way and see how that looks. So I think I'm actually pretty happy with that. So again, let's just try to see how it looks like in game. So we're here again, and honestly, I actually think these two things might work better if they're just not there, but the rest works pretty well. So I'm just gonna again try to open the door and see how it looks like in the other side of the wall. And if it works well, I think that might be good. Yeah, it works well. It doesn't clip on anything. Pretty happy with it. So the next thing to do is just to delete these two things that we weren't happy with. And now I'm going to do the worst part of the whole level design process or level decoration process, and that's just duplicating walls. And I know there's definitely way better ways of doing this than just going like that and like dealing with the rotation. But for this game, that's just how I decided to go with it, because it's not too time consuming. And the other methods may not work as well with some of the technology that I have going. So that was pretty fast, right? And then I'm going to do the same for the bushes. So I'm going to deactivate this part of the white box, and then I'm just going to duplicate these bushes in the same way that I did previously. And it's not too bad, right? So I'm just going to do this like that, do the big one as well, small one, and that was it. So that wasn't too bad, but it can really be super time consuming, as you can see when the levels are so big, right? So now that we've done that, we might actually get to the point where with this part we can actually do the floor. So you can see if I deactivate the floor section of the white box, there's a lot of decoration going here, which we don't actually have in here, right? So this is basically the same thing that I do with the collidable geometry of the level, and I just go and at one point near the start of the level I did everything by hand, but now I just go and I duplicate things because I did so much testing at the beginning that now I can just write off of that, and it really saves so much time, right? I can just go like this, duplicate things, and move them around according to what I've done previously, and I don't have to go and figure out a whole new system of doing things for every little section of the level, right? So there's that, and I wonder if I want to make this so much of a tiley section of the level or more of a greenery section. So you can see here there's more rocks and branches in this section. Maybe I want to do a bit of that, but maybe I want to do a mix of things actually, so I think I will do that. So I'm just gonna take a branch here to move it up there so I can place it afterwards, and do the same with the rocks. And now we can just move it around and duplicate things pretty easily. And the bushes I've already got over there, so I don't have to move them over. And do I want to put a tree? So usually I don't put a lot of trees in this kind of game where the perspective is the way that it is, because it can really block a lot of things. But because there's nothing that's going to go behind this section, I can put a bunch of them there. So I'm just going to take some of these ones here. So that's one of the smaller or medium-sized ones. I'm going to take a bigger one as well. And I think the rest can be populated by just bushes. So I really want to take care not to block this enemy over here, because it's basically the most important thing in the room apart from this. But I do want to accentuate this part, which is already pretty well done with the whole lake thing, but maybe we can do better with the trees. So actually I think that smaller one doesn't work too well because it blocks too much. So we can put some bushes here, and I can just put a big tree over here and a big one here. And yeah, I think I don't really have more space for trees, but I can definitely put more bushes. So I'm going to put something here. I'm going to do a bit of this, going to do a bit of layering here as well. And here everything's 0.8 in scale, you can see it here. And so I think I'm just going to scale it up a bit, but not too much, because otherwise it might be too obstructive. And so I really like putting stuff in corners. I don't know, I think it's kind of like, you know how cats go in the corner, and I guess it might satisfy some sort of primal feeling. I think that kind of goes the same for me when I go do level design. So I'm going to do some of that here. I don't really feel the need to put it here, even though I really want to, just because it feels like it's adequately decorated as well. So I'm just going to go and put some tree branches right next to the trees, right? That's where they should probably go. So do some of that here. Not too much though. And same thing here. And then I can probably put something here to really, you know, try to bring the eye of the player to the lever. But it might not be necessary. This is one of those things that you would probably figure out by doing a bit more testing. But that goes later in the process because you can't really, you know, test the decoration if you haven't decorated the level yet. So that goes later. But maybe I'll put another barrel over here just to occupy some space, because the barrels can give you health. So it might bring the eye to some players that maybe are low on health, you know. So there's that. This feels really, really empty. So I might put some mushrooms. They're the glowy ones over here, but I'm not too sure. So I really like to put like a defining feature in each section of the level so you don't really get confused as to where you are. So for example here, I'm just going to actually turn off the white box stuff so you can properly see the decoration. We don't actually need it for the rest of the area there either. So here you can see, if you're lost and you see this part, it's the only part that has like a billion mushrooms. So you know there's like the mushroom part, you can kind of orient yourself. There's a part with a big old rock and a lake, so again, you can orient yourself. Same thing here, there's like a house, and there's like not many houses of this type. And so here as well, like the obelisk kind of location with a billion tiles. So I kind of want to have a bit of that over here. The section before was kind of like the more like villagey kind of section, and this one's like the foresty kind of section. So I'm not entirely sure what I'll do here, but I'm just gonna look around and see what I can find. So I did a bit of digging in the previous level of the game, and I found this little prefab here, and it's perfect for this because it's part of the lore in the game. It's like a thing that the scientists transport, but also it hasn't been used at all in this level, so when the player first sees it, they're really gonna have their eye drawn to it, right? So I'm just gonna put it over here, and then I might want to put some sort of transportation mechanism just to make it more sense for why these tubes are here, but it might not even be necessary, so we'll see. So that looks pretty good. Might even want to put one over here, but I'm not entirely sure. If I do, yeah, I was gonna say if I do, I might delete this just to give more space. I think I'll actually do that, especially because when you enter through the door here, you're not really gonna be hit through this line of sight with the jellyfish here, right? So I'm gonna put a bit of this here, and it's gonna make this room a bit more unique. So a bit more duplication here, and we're actually getting really close to finishing up this area. The one thing that I think we have left is just doing a bunch of snow mounds. So you can see here, there's like snow mounds over here. What else was there? There was like here. So there's a bunch of them that I can just copy paste that I've already scaled in the right way. So that makes my job a lot easier. There might be some over here as well. Yeah, there's like some more roundish ones. And cool, so we have a bunch of them here. So now we can just like copy them, paste them, scale them up and down, and see how that kind of looks. So a bit here might be nice, and there's a lot of empty space over here. Don't know if I want to really cover these pebbles, but it might not be too big of a deal. I might just move them over here. You know, actually, I might actually be able to use a much bigger mound there. I know I used them in one section here, yeah. So that really, I thought that was a really cool touch because you can actually go through the snow mound, so it kind of adds like a, it's not really interactable, because you can see your player through the mounds, it just makes it a bit cool, you know? So I'm just going to add a bit of that there. I'm going to move it a bit down and scale it in this way, just so that it doesn't seep through here. And move it a bit like that, so that it doesn't look a bit too claustrophobic. And same thing with this bush. It might not even be necessary, but I'll just move it a bit back so it doesn't take as much space. And you know, this level's looking a lot better, so we're getting close to the end, I think. And there you go, I placed a bunch of the mounds, and I think it's looking pretty good, but I'm going to do one more thing before we finish this, and that is, I just want to make the lake a bit more interesting, so I'm just going to add like these twin peak kind of looking things like that, and I think that just makes it look a bit more interesting, right? So if you like get a bit closer to the lake, just, you know, it's nice to make things look nice, right? So actually, triplet peak, not twin peak. And so I think we're done with this section. I know I said that I was going to do this section earlier in the video, but you know, this has been taking so long that I think we'll just leave it at that, and let's see how this looks. So there we go. Originally we entered through here, we go through here, and everything is being properly blocked by this little thing that we made, and it's working pretty well. So when you go over here, the twin peaks are kind of giving a bit more texture to the game, and you can see that you can like go through the mound. Same thing with this section over here. I don't know, I always like this sort of stuff in games. It makes it feel a bit more alive. Then this part's completely empty because we haven't worked on it, right? And on screen now I'll show how it looked like near the beginning, and so you can compare going back and forth. And really happy with it. So if you like this kind of video, subscribe and wishlist the game, which I put the link in the description. It's called Synth Beast, and you've seen a bunch of it in this video, of course. And I'll see you all for the next video, and I hope that you enjoyed this more chill experience. So, bye.